How's it going, guys? Welcome to the first Digital Faces talk show. You have me, Shannon, and my co-host Josh. And just to get into it, because a lot of people probably know me but don't know Josh. Josh, why don't you explain, dude, how you even came across me, Shannon, Digital Faces? What happened? Explain that day, that story, that process, and what was going on through your head.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting just to give a little context, a little background. For the past 10 years or so, from a business standpoint, my job has been going into businesses and seeing where I could bring additional support, right, to help them drive revenue. I literally, for the past 10 years, have gone into businesses, looked at, okay, is the team where it needs to be, right? Is the process where it needs to be? How can I help build the brand of that department or team to drive revenue? And business was going well. Things were going very well on a personal side and on a professional side. And then once this pandemic hit, right, it was interesting that an idea came to mind. The last project I worked on, we had a department that was revenuing about 200,000. And with a team of people, I was able to help out grow that to 3.5 million. And things were good, but when the pandemic hit and I got more time, I started thinking to myself, wouldn't that have been nice if I was an owner of that company, right? Or a part owner of that 3.5 million. And so that got my wheels turning, and that's when I said, hey, I want to go and bring kind of my expertise, right, into a small business to see who I can collaborate with and really help someone, blow the company out of the water, so to speak. And it's funny. That's how I came across you. And I was looking for somebody that was similar with myself as far as like business values and virtues and all of that, how they viewed the customer. But more importantly, I was thinking of someone that has perseverance, someone that's willing to put in the work and do the grind. And I literally were going to social media agencies, small agencies, to look at who was posting consistently or had a catalog of posts. And what's crazy is there were so many social media agencies that I looked at that even though they were pushing this idea of content, like when I looked on their page, they didn't have much. There was no content. And so, and I was working with a client. I do filming on the side as well. This is just a side thing. And they mentioned you, coincidentally, right? They mentioned you and like, oh, I do some work with Shannon. And so I was looking at your page and I noticed that, quite frankly, I was like, wow, this dude posts quite a bit, and over the past 4 years, I really have seen that you've been overall consistent. And so that's how and for those, obviously no one knows this, but Shannon, you can speak on it, maybe tell me your perspective, but I literally got your number. I text you and I was like, hey, I want to talk to you about an opportunity, right? You don't know me. And I think I put something like, this isn't like a sales pitch.
We got to screenshot that email just to say that.
Exactly. I literally, reached out, just a cold call. We talked, and right, the rest is history. And I think that what we're trying to do here for your social media agency, right, which is really becoming ours and becoming partners, is we're really trying to disrupt this little sector of business that, quite frankly, I think not too many smaller agencies are doing a great job at offering a full package of services, which we'll go over as time goes on.
But no, yeah, and just to let you know where I was at too. It's funny you say that, and I'm not sure if I really kind of gave this story, but yeah, I think before the pandemic, I was consistent with the content because I'm always like, hey, practice what you preach, practice what you preach. And I think when I quit my job at a real estate company, my goal was, look, I see social media agencies like either do one or two things: or the big ones, the big dogs, or the smaller dogs, and all they would do was create the same content and distribute out on everyone's platforms, just a different time, right? Yep. And charging very little, but like, hey, I'm just gonna post the same thing on everyone's social media platform. Now I'm like, look, I can do a better job in the middle tier. And after 4 years, I live in LA, and you get caught up in that bachelor lifestyle, right? Like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go out and just make enough to support my lifestyle. And when COVID happened, I had a decision to make, Like, look, I can either continue doing what I'm doing, or look, or you can see where Digital Faces can really take you, and bunker down and try to take things to the next level. And I was trying to do that on my own, but then you reached out to me, and I was like, wow, this is crazy how this we our values aligned. And like, everything you were saying, I'm like, look, I recently made a change in my head saying, look, after 4 years, now it's time to either, for Digital Faces to put up or shut up. And Digital Faces is me, right? To say, look, we're either going to take this to where it can really go, or we're going to go a different direction, right?
Right.
Like that's kind of like the crossroads I was at.
Right.
And saying,
right.
look, and it's, we got to either, put the time into seeing where Digital Faces can fully be. And hence that email came by at almost a perfect time, right? I was
Right.
like, wow, okay, this is great.
Right.
And for me, I'm thinking, look, you know what? A lot of people are always hesitant about like partnerships and things like that. But for me, I'm thinking, look, I think we can make and accomplish more together than separate, right? Like,
Right.
what do you want? 100% of something small, or do you want 50% of something big, right? Like, I think that was just pure, like, okay, look, plain and simple. And I'm like, you know what, you complement a lot of things especially one of my weaknesses that I have. Vice versa, we're both transparent, we're both like upfront, and we both have similar goals and values. So it just kind of made sense, and I'm a big proponent of, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. When the partner's ready, to come. Everything, when you're ready to receive it, it's going to come. So
right.
It's no question that we both had that epiphany during COVID, right?
Right. No, exactly. And I think that's what I'm super excited about. I think that, one, with this show, I think what we're going to be able to bring value to the listeners, right, is one, kind of bringing our field of expertise right to the table, right? When I think about you, and I think about, your knowledge that you shared with me about social media, how you're using it, your tactics, right? I mean, think about this. I mean, really, you can give $10, and I'm just using that as a random number, $10
Right.
to 10 different, let's say 100. Let's say $100 to 10 social media agencies. But like, the reality is, and you've taught me this, it doesn't mean you're going to get the same results from all 10. How people target, how people, warm up the leads, yada, 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 which is your field, right? Like, you opened that to me, where there is an experience that's needed. There is strategy, there is technique that can, really make a difference on how you use the same ad dollars, right? And I think that, this show is going to have a lot of those different points, like, how do we help businesses, right? Or I think about on my side, I think with the expertise that I brought is, for the past 10 years, I've been helping building teams, to drive revenue. And I think that, and I think when I think about this business, you had 2 employees, right? Now we're at about 7, total on the team. Really, the vision is to get us to 20. And so I think that talking about those experiences, just like, what we're learning along the way, I think maybe could help somebody else in their business, right? They can grow just as we're trying to grow ourselves.
Yeah, I think that the thing that's worked out is eating our own dog food, right? Like, everyone has a service, but how many of you guys, like you said, how many social media agencies actually market, right? How many personal trainers are fit, right? Just bottom line, like, for anyone out there, and that's what I've learned is, like, hey, we need to take our own dog food, and that's what you've preached, and I agree. Like, hey, once we use our own medicine, I think every domino after that is going to fall in line. Every domino after that, like, hey, whatever, hey, are you a carpet cleaning company? Is your carpet clean? Right? Right. Things of that nature. Like, hey, if you're a credit card company, do you have a 700 credit score? Like, that's bottom line. Because guess what? You could take people there. And I think for us too, like, hey, if we're a marketing agency, and that's what we've been focused on, is like, how can we do what we're recommending to our clients on ourselves? Right. Like, that's, and I think in this world, in today's age, that's required. Right. Like, whatever you do, right, especially if it's a service, right? Like, are you doing that yourself? Right. Like, and
I agree. And I think that, and for those that may be listening, right, the reality is today's going to be a shorter episode. We wanted to just jump on here, right, to introduce myself, introduce kind of like our new vision and goals as a company. But I think that if there's anything I would want to leave this episode with, I think it's the importance of posting every single day, right? Like, I think everybody says that, like, and I'm not saying anything, groundbreaking here, But I think that what me and you are trying to do, and I think what I'm super excited about, is we're building an infrastructure. We're building a team that's going to be able to post quality content every single day. And I think that where we're going to bring a lot of value to the listeners is whether they work with us, whether they don't, whether they work with their own team, which is either way is fine. I think for any business to grow though in 2020 that has a service or a product, you have to post every single day. And I
Do you
think
think that's
that
possible without a team?
I think
Now look
that
at it.
I think it's possible without a team. I just think the volume and the quality is where you're going to see that a sacrifice. So I think that you can post every single day, and don't get me wrong, I know that posting every single day will make an impact, but I think that for businesses that are wondering why they can't get to that next level, I think folks seeing what we're doing, look at where Digital Faces is today. Like, this is a landmark, right? Let's see where Digital Faces is going to be in 6 months. I'm excited to see where Digital Faces is going to be in 1 year, because what we're basically about to do is we're testing our own thesis and really a lot of other people's thesis. Post quality content every day and you will get great business results. That's it. So that's what we're doing, right? And I think that I'm glad we're documenting, right, the journey, just so that other people can see, because we're not reinventing the wheel. Literally, there are other people that do this, far and few. But I think less than 10% of small businesses, I'd say less than 5%, are actually doing it.
And my
I
last
don't know anything.
question is why? Why do you think that is? Why do you think not as many?
I think it's a number of reasons, but I think it's daunting. I think, as a creative, I talked that I've been in business for the past 10 years doing something, but for the past 5 years on a personal side, I've been a creative. I make short films, I make comedy sketches, I make things that are going to help me in this business because I know how to film and produce. It is daunting. Like, when you don't know how to make content, like, you're trying to run a business. So like, to try to learn something else in addition to what's making your ends meet, right? That it can be daunting. And I think this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. I think that it's daunting. I think ones don't have time or don't make the time, I should say, right? And then I just think there's insecurity that comes along with it. Turning on the camera and looking at it. Do I actually want to say anything and publish it to the world, right? And so there's a lot of different reasons why, but I think those are some of the ones that immediately come to my mind.
Nice. And why do you think it's worth it to do it? I think that's my last question.
I think it's worth it because your business will grow. I think it's worth it because your business will grow. Now, granted, it's not the only way. Me and you, in the short time we work together, we've talked to some businesses that have point blank told us, I don't want to do it, and my business is okay. And I think that that's a fair point. But I think that if they're doing 100,000 a year, if they're doing 1 million a year, whatever their okay is, I think if you add social media into it, you can realistically double that if you execute right. And again, I'm saying that right now, but we are the thesis. So like, yep. I think that this video is going to be cool. In 1 year, we're going to be able to say, oh, well, we grew, doubled or tripled, or maybe we didn't. Maybe we grew 25%. But at least what I'm looking for is the why. Did we execute right? Did we do this? Did we do that? But I have a lot of confidence that if we play this out right, I don't see why we can't double or triple or more, right? If we're executing social media right. It's just the way to go. And obviously we'll talk in later episodes on why. We'll add a little more meat. I think today's episode is more about like, hey, let's talk about the skeleton and what we're about to be about.
Perfect. And I'll end with, regardless of wherever it's at, I think my story is look, I put out, I would say 2 years like of good content at least once a week. And it didn't get me to $1 million status, but it at least led me to people that want that. Right. So I would say, I know this for sure. I don't know what exactly you're going to get if you put in your best, but I know you're going to get something. Right. Like that's all I know. And I think that's my testimony as far as, look, I sometimes I did phone, sometimes I had a friend hold the camera and just, I'll edit it later. I'll hire someone else to edit it. But putting out consistent content, you know what I mean, did get me business for sure. 60% of my business came from that. And it got me someone that could potentially get me there. So again, it probably still is going to get me there, right? But just not the way I envisioned it. But still, where I would have been if I didn't create none of that content, and where you know what I mean? Could have been, we wouldn't have been here.
And here's my last comment, because I want to piggyback on that. I think that what's cool about the internet, what's cool about social media from a business and personal perspective is I guess it's better summed up in saying it can help you, right, benefit in a variety of ways. And I say variety because it's not always monetary. Like if you think about you, right, the reality is, I mean, you do have a lot of relationships, right? And I've noticed that about you, largely based on what you've done on social media. So I think that, and that has opened doors and opportunities for you, right, that otherwise you wouldn't have had, right? And so I think that it's interesting: monetary, relationships, networking, brand, right, which isn't always an ROI thing that you can quantify, right, but there's still much value in it. So I'm super excited about this podcast. I think it's good for the audience to know that we're going to be posting regularly. We'll have a schedule we're going to put out so that consistently we do it. And I think it'll be cool to bring folks on, right? I know we're going to talk about that. And we're going to do that to bring folks on. Hey, what have they done to grow their business? Because one thing I want to be clear about, I don't think social media, I think it's a great way to put gasoline to a fire. I don't think it's the only way to grow and to be successful per se. I think it's the best way. I think it's the best way. But obviously, you and I have come across people who are very successful, who are not on social media. And it would be insightful to learn, what have they done? What are they doing, in their business that's helping them grow? I'm hoping all of that will bring value to everyone that may be watching, and even to us.
Yeah, no, I love it. And stay tuned, guys. I think the next time, I think we should also talk about our journey too, what we're going through. So we're actually going to be we're creating content now. And this is part of, the experiment. And also we're going to do ads on ourselves as well. So I'm excited because I don't see anyone doing the quality of video plus on the ad side. You either see the Monday.coms or you see someone filming by themselves. You don't see the in between. So I'm excited about that. Film days tomorrow. This is happening. So, we're walking the walk. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Hey, good episode one. Good episode one.
I know, right? Document. Hey, guys, you're gonna see this journey from start to finish. So with that being said, episode number 1 is in the books, and we're a little over 15 minutes. So
cool. All right, man.